In today's video, we are going to be doing some leg strengthening exercises. A lot of times when I'm teaching some technique or concept to my students, a big obstacle that we encounter in learning a certain concept isn't necessarily their ability to do it, but that they're lacking strength in their legs that they need in order to not only perform the technique correctly, but to maintain it while they're dancing. So I find that the type of exercise that I do some weightlifting, I do a lot of cardio and squats and lunges, really helps me prepare my body not only to have good form when I'm performing different exercises in my dancing, but also gives me kind of the physical endurance that I need in order to maintain my technique while I'm dancing. So that's what today's video is all about. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first exercise that we're going to be doing are heel raises, or releve, as it's known in the dance world. I will say before we start, if anything that we're doing is too difficult for you balance-wise or in any other way, feel free to hang on to something. Don't go as low, don't go as high, just to create an intensity that's difficult for you, but not so difficult that you feel like you might injure yourself or that you can't actually perform the exercise that we're doing, okay? So if doing heel raises, it's difficult for you to balance, go ahead and hold on to your countertop or a chair or whatever you have around you, okay? So what we're going to do first is we're going to put the feet together, and in this position, we're going to try to squeeze our legs together as much as we can, as much of the surface area of our legs that can come together as possible. That's what we're trying to create. And here, before we even get into the heel raises, now we're going to release into neutral and then squeeze. So I'm squeezing my glutes, I'm squeezing my abductors, and release, and squeeze, and release, and squeeze, and release, and one more time, squeeze, okay? Now, we're squeezing, and we're going to maintain our squeeze as we lift up onto the toes. And I'm trying to get my weight over the big toe, like right between the big toe and the ball of the foot, and with control, I come back down, keeping my legs squeezed the whole time, and I lift and come down, up, down, keeping the legs squeezed together, down, up, and we're trying to get 10 of these, up, down, and then on the last one, we're going to go up, and we're going to hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and slowly come down. Okay, so that's really good. Obviously, you're probably going to feel that most in your calves, but the squeezing is also engaging other parts of the leg as well. Now we're going to go into a chair pose, and we're going to hold it for 5 seconds and then come back up. So chair pose is keeping, again, squeezing the legs together. We're going to go down as far as you can without opening the knees. As we do that, we're keeping our abs engaged. We're going to go down, and we're going to lift the hands above the head and getting the arms in line with the ears. So we don't want our arms out in front. So we're going to go lift, 2, 3, 4, 5, and come up. And we come up, we're going to squeeze our glutes because today's lesson is all about leg strength. And we go back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and up. And 1, 2, 3, keeping your abs engaged. And again, keep breathing. Come up. And it's interesting when we talk about leg strength Because the legs are at the bottom of the body, it's very difficult to talk about strengthening the legs without also involving a lot of other muscles in the back, in the belly, the ankles. So that's why I really like to focus in on the legs, because inevitably we're also involving a lot of other parts of the body. And last one. So now we're going to open up to what's called second position, which is bringing the heels underneath the shoulders. Okay, so my toes are going to be a little further out than my shoulders. My heels are right underneath my shoulders, and I'm opening my toes a bit. A good rule of thumb when we're talking about how much rotation we want to use in our feet is if you just hold your foot out in front and just do this, the amount of rotation that you have when you do that is the amount of rotation that you want to use. You don't want to force it and go too far, because then you're going to be rotating your feet from your knees, which is not proper body mechanics. Whenever we're rotating our feet out, we're going to try and do it from the hip joint, okay? So I've got my heels underneath my shoulders and my feet turned out to the point that's comfortable from the hips, not from the knees. And I'm going to do what's called a plie or a bend. And I'm trying to do a grand plie, which means I'm trying to go down as far as I can in this position without changing the angle of my spine. So I don't want to do it like a squat where I'm bending forward, which is totally fine if you're wanting to strengthen your legs. But for the purpose of this video, because we're trying to improve our dancing, I think it's important to do a dancerly version of the squat, which is a plie in which we do not bend forward. Again, we're keeping our abs engaged, we're keeping our glutes engaged to keep our hips in neutral so that I don't end up doing this or this when I do my plie. My hips stay in the neutral plane, and I go down as far as I can, and I come back up. And I go down, 3, 4, squeezing the glutes to come back up, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're going to stay down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And come up. Take a little rest, and then we are going to go into a grand plie, and we're going to lift our heels off the ground, okay? So the idea is eventually, by using these exercises in the way that I've specified in the PDF that accompanies this course, you would go through this series without stopping. So we'll do our plies, we'll hold, and then we'll go directly into the releves. And it might take you a few times or a few weeks to get to the point where you can comfortably do that, but it's really going to help you strengthen the muscles that you need to have good dancing endurance, okay? So we're going to go down into our grand plie. Let's go ahead and put the arms out to the side to help us with our balance, and let's hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we're going to lift the heels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come down And we're going to take a tiny little break, and then we're going to do hold, grand plie, and then 10 heel raises. So the first one we hold, and the second one we go up and down, okay? 5 more seconds, and we'll try that again. We go. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and come up. Okay, so now we're going to go into some single leg lunges, which is an exercise, aside from being great for your balance and your stability, I find that single leg exercises are actually a lot more difficult and kind of show me where my strength imbalances are in my body. So all of us just naturally have one side of our body that's stronger than the other in each specific part. So I found my right shoulder is stronger, but my left hip is stronger. So it's very specific to each person, and single leg exercises are a really great way to kind of bring both of your sides into equilibrium so that we're not, you kind of become conscious of the fact that you're favoring one side or another, okay? So we're just gonna do some single-legged lunges. We're gonna do some reverse lunges, and we're going to do some forward lunges, okay? Just to practice different ways to use our weight, and also, again, this is going to help us work on our balance as well. So we're going to start actually with our reverse lunges. So I'm going to reach one leg back. I'm going to touch that knee to the ground. When I do this, I want to make sure that I've got this knee over my ankle. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be lifting this foot off the ground. Very important in strengthening your legs that you're always pushing your heel down into the ground, which is going to activate your glute in any given exercise in which we are bending our knees. So I go back and I come back up. And on your way down, you want to see how long you can spend on the one leg. Trying not to push off of this leg, but trying to really push into the ground on your forward leg to bring you back up. So we're doing 10 on each side. So I think that was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and we'll switch sides. We go 1, and you might notice maybe this side is stronger, or maybe it's a little weaker than the first side that you did. And again, like I said, that's one of the best things about single-legged exercises, because any dance teacher will tell you, you probably say this to your teacher, oh, that's my bad side. And your dance teacher will say, there's no such thing. We have to do it the same on both sides. Now, of course, these inequities exist, but we want to try to balance ourselves out as much as possible. Okay, now we're going to do some forward lunges. So instead of reaching the foot back, I'm going to reach my foot forward. So I'm going to go forward and come back, and forward and come back. Trying to make this as smooth as possible, coming down with control, coming up with control. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And let's do the other side. 1, 2, 3, keeping your abs engaged so that you keep your spine nice and straight. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so the next exercise that we're going to do is a deadlift. Usually when we do a deadlift, we do it with weight, but I think it's a fabulous exercise to do without weight that makes us really conscious of our form and what muscles we use when we are performing it, because it's very easy to do a deadlift and try and lift it from your back. And so the purpose of doing this exercise without weight is to help us really think about lengthening our spine and hinging at the hips, but also making us more aware of the fact that we're trying to utilize our leg muscles to really power this movement, and it also really makes us aware of maintaining our abdominal muscles, especially the lower ones, engaged, which is super important with any dance move that we are trying to perform. So a deadlift, I'm going to put my feet about between hip and shoulder width apart. I think everybody has a different level of comfort. We don't want our feet too close together, and we don't want them too far apart. So for me, I feel like between hip and shoulder width apart is good. Toes pointing forward. I'm going to bend my knees slightly, and keeping my abdominals engaged, I'm going to hinge forward, keeping my spine nice and long. I'm not breaking the line in my spine, so that means if my spine is nice and long, when I hinge forward, the trajectory of my eyes is going to go forward, okay? Here, you want to have about 70% of your weight in the heels and 30% in the rest of the foot. And we're hinging over as far as you can, keeping a straight spine, and then you're going to use your glutes, the point of that hinge, to bring your upper body up, and I end up squeezing, engaging my quads and my glutes to get my legs nice and straight and keeping my abs nice and engaged. So I'm going to hinge over, and I'm going to power up using actually the hamstrings, the glutes, and the quads. And I hinge, and I come up. And focusing on the muscles that you're trying to use in this movement. Six, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so the last two exercises of this leg strengthening series are going to be on the floor, okay? So I'm going to do, actually there's one exercise, part A, part B, and then a second exercise. So the first one is going to be a glute bridge. So I'm going to lay down on the ground and just pull my shoulders down, so as if you're trying to reach your heels with your fingers, so your shoulders are down. Connect the sacrum or your low back to the floor. And make sure that your feet and your knees are in line, that we're not letting them swing in or swing out. So they're right in line with my hips. Okay? From here, I'm going to lift my hips, squeeze the glute, and bring the hips up. And I'm going to hold 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to curl down, trying to touch each part of the spine to the floor. And we'll come up again. 2, 3, come down. 3, 2, 3, 4. Keep pushing the heels into the ground. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and last one. And come down. Now we are going to do, again, another single-legged exercise, which is a glute bridge with just one leg. So I'm actually going to just cross one leg over the other. In this case, I've got my left ankle coming to my right knee, and I'm going to lift up. 1, 2, 3, come down. 3, 4, 5. And when you're doing this, you want to try and get the hips level even though you've got only one leg supporting you. 7, 8, 9, and 10. And let's switch legs. And we go. 1, getting the hips level. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and last one. Okay, so I have saved the best for last, and by best I mean my least favorite. This exercise is so good. It's a whole body exercise, although when I finish it, I feel like Bambi. I feel like I can hardly walk because it targets a part of the leg that we really don't exercise enough, and that is very important for stabilizing and maintaining your strength, and that's these adductor muscles, okay, and the outside of the hip. So what we're going to do is just a side plank. So you're going to get your elbow right underneath your shoulder and your hand coming forward, and you're going to bring your knees underneath you. So there's a few different variations on this. I'd say the easiest one is just to keep both knees bent and lift the hips and come down. Another variation would be to be here and to lift the leg straight. And then another one is to open up the hip, okay? So I'm going to let you all decide which version of this exercise you're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and do the straight leg lift just because that's what I feel like doing today. But please do whatever feels best for you. And if you're really up to it, you could do 10 double, 2 bent legs, 10 with 1 straight leg, and 10 opening the hip. And then you'd be really getting into those, the outside of the hip flexors. Okay, so I'm going to put my hand, this side plank. So we want to try and make sure that our entire spine is in one plane. We want to make sure we're not leaning forward or back. For me, it helps me to put my other hand on my hip here so that and try and keep my elbow pointing toward the ceiling. That's a good way to make sure that I'm keeping my spine nice and straight. Okay, so let's go ahead. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, let's go ahead and switch sides. I don't know if you guys feel that, but I certainly do. And I know this side is my weak side. So if you hear me breathing extra hard, that's why. So we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. In the PDF that accompanies this course, as I mentioned, I do have a specified number of repetitions to do, the best number of days to perform all of these exercises, but of course, it does depend on your individual level and the amount of strength that you already have in your legs. And so if you're feeling like you need more of a challenge, of course, you could do, 2 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 10 on some of these exercises until you really feel like your muscles are really burning and really getting tired, and that's how we know that we are building strength in our muscles. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. I know I certainly felt these exercises in my legs, and really do watch for how much stronger you feel in your dancing after having performed these exercises. Probably not directly after, because your muscles will feel a bit fatigued, but after doing these exercises and then doing the stretching class, which is coming up in this course, you will notice a difference in the amount of repetitions that you're able to do correctly in your dancing. So I look forward to you experiencing that. And I will see you back here tomorrow for our next class.